Episodes of Palette Swap are suggested by viewers like you. If there's a character you'd like me to analyze, let me know in the comment section down below. Good morrow everyone, Silvershire here, and welcome back to Palette Swap, where I rank the costumes and character designs of your favorite fighting games. And by your favorite fighting games, I mean my favorite fighting games, and by my favorite fighting games, I mean Soulcalibur. Today, we're looking at the hero-turned-himbo, Heishiro Mitsurugi. But before we begin our analysis, here's a quick refresher course on who Mitsurugi is and what we should be looking for in his character designs. Mitsurugi was a samurai warrior who made a name for himself during Japan's Warring States conflict. Though his skill with a katana was unrivaled, the introduction of powerful and easy-to-use firearms such as Tanegashima rifles threatened to render his swordsmanship obsolete. Rather than adopt the gun as some samurai did, Mitsurugi sought a way to defeat it. He briefly searched for the cursed sword, Soul Edge, but this quest was fruitless. He learned that the power he needed would have to come from within. He dedicated himself to his training, studying new techniques and dueling the world's greatest warriors, all in hopes of making his blade deadlier than a bullet. And then he did! Unlike the vast majority of fighting game characters, Mitsurugi accomplished his goal, and only a few games in for that matter. He learned how to deflect bullets and ended up besting a rifleman in single combat. For the rest of the series, he's just there for a good time, seeking out worthy opponents who can test his might. At one point, he finds a shard of Soul Edge and doesn't even care. He puts it in his pocket and literally forgets about it. Mitsurugi's Soul Edge 1P is a simple, lightly armored design. The tattered edges of his Haori coat and his general lack of armor call to mind a Ronin rather than an active-duty samurai. He was the nominal protagonist of this game, so it's fitting that he has a heroic blue, yellow, and red color palette. Though this pale blue seems a little too calm and reserved for such a confident, battle-hungry warrior. He does have the kanji for tiger on his back, which adds a dash of ferocity. The main problem I have with this costume is the same problem I had with Siegfried's Soul Edge 1P. It's totally generic. You could tell me that this is Haomaru, or Takamaru, or any number of other video game samurai and I would believe you, because he lacks any unique, distinguishing features. 5 out of 10. This costume's alternate color is red and beige. Doesn't make him any less generic, but I do think it's more fitting for Mitsurugi. 6 out of 10. His 2P is heavier armor like he might wear on the battlefield, though he's still without sleeves or a helmet. While it would have been cool to see him completely decked out, it makes sense that a brash and cocky fighter would forego some of his protection. It also retroactively differentiates him from Yoshimitsu, who was introduced in the next game. This design uses a lot of rectangular shape language to give him a solid, sturdy look. I actually think he's a bit too rectangular, as his torso is basically just a big brick, but it looks better from the in-game perspective. The color palette is also quite striking. 6 out of 10. This costume's alternate color is silver and red. Astute viewers of this channel may have picked up on some subtle hints that I'm fond of that combination. 10 out of 10. His 3P is a casual look, which makes a lot of sense for Mitsurugi. He's absolutely the kind of guy who would get into a sword fight while he's just on his way to the market or something. Like his 1P, it uses calm, understated colors. That works better given the context of everyday clothing. This is a rare instance of the in-game model being more detailed than the artwork, as it adds... Wait a minute. Oh my god, Mitsurugi is Link! Someone get MatPat on the horde! We need a game theory on this! Stat! Okay, in actuality, the symbol that we Zelda nerds know as the Triforce has a long history in Japanese culture. Most notably is the crest of the Hojo clan, which is called a Mitsuroko. I think this may be wordplay, because Mitsuroko sounds an awful lot like Mitsurugi, at least to my American ears. Of course, it could just be a nod to the Hojo clan's military prowess. Either way, they add some nice detail to an otherwise plain outfit, though I wish they were more obvious. They could have been blue or yellow or white instead of just a lighter green. 6 out of 10. Soulcalibur 1 flips things around and makes his 1P the more armored of the two. His right arm is bare, presumably to grant him a greater freedom of movement when drawing and swinging his sword. This asymmetry is balanced out by a long waistcloth on his right side, which includes a Shinto symbol called a Mitsudomoe, further supporting my theory that they're just going for Mitsu puns. His palette consists mostly of dark, warm colors that fit his personality a lot better than those of his previous 1P, but I wish they were more prominent. When the waistcloth is facing the camera, he looks fine, but if he's turned the other direction, he's mostly gray. Also, the chest plate doesn't look very samurai. It seems out of place compared to the rest of the outfit. Still, I consider this his best costume yet because it's uniquely Mitsurugi, and it established the trends that many of his future designs would follow. 7 out of 10. His 2P goes all in on the Ronin aesthetic. He He's completely unarmored, resembling one of the wandering swordsmen you might see in a Kurosawa film, albeit with much more flair and decoration. Once again, his right arm is bare, which adds a sense of visual cohesion to his designs. The mostly monochromatic color scheme with a few splashes of gold and bright red is as sharp as his katana, and the kanji on his sleeve are a really cool detail. 8 out of 10. From Soulcalibur II onward, Mitsurugi has a gunshot scar near his shoulder. Yeah, remember what I said about him defeating a rifleman in single combat? Well, that wasn't his first attempt. He canonically had this scar in the last game, but it wasn't present on his character model. Mitsurugi's entire thing is that he doesn't like guns, so putting a permanent reminder of that on his skin is great visual storytelling. Plus, it's a distinguishing feature that separates him from other samurai characters. His 1P from this game is his most heavily armored design yet. It fixes the problems I had with his previous 1P by giving him a classic samurai breastplate and spreading out the placement of red accents. Though he no longer has a bare arm, he's shirtless underneath the armor, which gives him a bit of that confident flair I discussed in regards to his Soul Edge 2P. Seems mighty uncomfortable though. The return to symmetry is unfortunate, as it's less unique and covers up his scar, but it's cool enough that I don't really care. I think I have a bias for this costume simply because of that scene from the opening cinematic. I mean, come on, that's just pure awesomeness. 9 out of 10. His 2P is again unarmored. He's bare-chested aside from some Sarashi bandages, and he's wearing a pair of black Hakama pants with white flames on them. I wonder if that's a nod to Jin's appearance from Tekken 4. His hairstyle has undergone minor changes in some of his previous costumes, but this takes it to the next level, giving him a giant bushy ponytail that looks straight out of an anime. The color scheme seems entirely monochromatic at first, but there are some bits of gold, green, and brown to keep it interesting. The only thing I don't like is that the bandages go over his shoulder. Mitsurugi wears Sarashi around his midsection in several other costumes, and they look fine, but here they just make him seem injured. It's like his doctor told him he shouldn't be moving his arm too much. Still, I'm a fan of this costume. 7 out of 10. His 3P looked at his Soul Edge 3P and went, we can get more casual than that. It consists of a kimono and yeah, that's about it. Okay, he does also have a necklace and Sarashi, but for all intents and purposes, it's like he just rolled out of bed and threw on a bathrobe. His hair hangs in front of his face and he's smoking on something, which makes this costume super unique and memorable. In a weird way, him being so ill-prepared for battle actually makes him seem more intimidating. It's like he doesn't even consider you a threat. The color palette is simple but effective, and the white patterns stand out well. 8 out of 10. His Soulcalibur III 1P has a lot in common with his previous 1P, but he's back to having a bare arm. There's a lot of black this time around, which makes the red and gold accents pop. I don't have much else to say about it, because it doesn't bring anything new to the table, but it's a perfect culmination of his costumes up to this point. 9 out of 10. His 2P gives him a rough, wild appearance. There's obvious inspirations from his Soulcalibur I 2P, but it's different enough to feel like its own thing. For the first time, his hair isn't in a ponytail, instead taking the form of a long, unkempt mane. It does a good job of contrasting his 1P and showing off another side of his character. If his 1P is the honorable samurai, this is the aggressive ronin. That said, the patterns and color scheme are underwhelming compared to his other 2Ps. 6 out of 10. For better or worse, Soulcalibur IV's character designs tend to be extreme and over the top, but Mitsurugi's 1P from this game is just meh. I think they were trying to portray him as an aesthetic vagabond type who makes do with simple, well-worn clothing, as evidenced by his chipped armor and tattered waist strap. It's a cool concept, but in practice, it just feels like his previous 1P with muddier colors. It's also pretty busy, which is a common issue in this game. There are definitely things to like about this costume. He has a bunch of new scars, which help sell him as a battle-hardened warrior, and his red rope belt is a lot chunkier now, which makes it a memorable accessory. I just wish they had pushed him in a more interesting direction considering the craziness he was surrounded by. 6 out of 10. His 2P is a simple outfit consisting of a haori and some hakama, but they're both covered in intricate patterns. The color scheme is a callback to his Soulcalibur II 2P, and it even has a similar flame design. His unkempt hair is back, which I'm not sure really fits this costume, but it's still a cool look. I like everything that's here, but I feel like it's missing something. A Sarashi or some kind of asymmetry could spice things up a bit. As is, it's a 7 out of 10. His Soulcalibur V 1P goes for a similar rugged vagrant look, but I think it works a lot better here. This game takes place after a 17-year time skip, and Mitsurugi is visibly aged alongside his fashion sense. The hairstyle previously reserved for his 2Ps is now a part of his default appearance and includes some gray streaks. His outfit resembles a more tattered version of Soulcalibur I 2P, now with prayer beads around his chest that possibly imply his bloodlust is mellowed over time. I mean, it hasn't based on his in-game dialogue, but it still makes him seem more mature. Also like that costume, it uses mostly desaturated colors but with strong value contrast and some splashes of red and gold. All in all, this was a perfect direction to take the character. 9 out of 10. His 2P is more heavily armored, and it's boring. The silhouette is similar to a Soulcalibur II 1P, but it's totally grey. If ever there's an excuse to use bright colors, it's here. It's a suit of samurai armor, and it's a 2P in a game where 2Ps got really wild. This is just uninteresting. 5 out of 10. Soulcalibur VI is a reboot of the series, and Mitsurugi's design is a direct update to a Soulcalibur I 1P. The main differences are that his shoulder features a red beast face, his gauntlet is red, he has prayer beads on his wrist, his waistcloth is brown instead of red, and there's a tiger design on his pant leg. I don't know why they took the red away from his waistcloth, but I still think this is an improvement. There's a lot more detail and the color palette is more varied. 8 out of 10. Say it with me everyone, Soulcalibur VI doesn't have any alternate costumes, but it does have alternate colors. His color 2 is purple and brown, which I have no strong feelings about. It looks fine. 8 out of 10. His color 3 is orange and green, and it also gives him blonde hair and an eye patch. This is a reference to Arthur, who replaced Mitsurugi in Korean copies of Soulcalibur I due to a cultural aversion towards samurai. This is a perfect idea for an alternate color and executed well. 9 out of 10. Lastly, his color 4 is purple and white, and it gives him edgy silver hair. This isn't a great fit for Mitsurugi, and it feels like a waste to give him 2 purple ults, but I can't deny that it looks cool. 7 out of 10. And with that, we have ranked every single Mitsurugi costume. They're generally good, but I don't know, none of them wow me. It feels like the designers are hesitant to do anything really experimental or outside the box with Mitsurugi. Even his best costumes are just like, yup, that's a samurai. I had a lot of trouble keeping the script from getting repetitive, because there were rarely new things to comment on. That's just my opinion, so what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. Also, let me know which character you'd like to see next. For episode 9, we'll be discussing King from Tekken, as requested by D-Town Nash. The request was only for King the Second, but I'm gonna throw in the first King as well. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I bid thee farewell.